in Denver, where the Broncos, with a super first half, 24-0. And just to fill you in on what happened at the end of that first half, which ended in some confusion, Johnson was inbounds, but it was close enough to measure, so they had to bring the sticks across, and they stopped the clock for that. Denver was under the impression that they had taken a timeout, when in fact they had not. So as they go back out and Elway begins to run the next play, the clock is ticking down. That results in the confusion. No more play into the half.
Hope the game doesn't swing on that.
Yeah, right. I have a feeling it won't. 2-yard line. Tim Brown starts the second half with a little bit of a thrill as Carlos bumps him out of bounds. Brown, who ran back a kickoff for a touchdown, 97 yards in his first NFL game, the opener against San Diego, brings him out to the 40-yard line.
Hey, is that something?
Yeah.
That is spectacular.
Anything is prettier is to see that moon over some of the great ski slopes you have out here in Colorado.
I wonder if it's rising or setting. It depends on which team you're rooting for.
Yep.
Well, let's see if the pride and poise, the silver and black, can make something happen offensively. It was a futile first half, to say the least, and Jay Schrader still at the helm.
From the 41-yard line, Dennis Smith is still not back for Denver. Randy Robbins takes his spot in the defensive secondary, and the pass is thrown behind James Lofton. The last time Lofton played a game in this stadium, it was that famous snow game in '84, Green Bay against Denver. He caught 11 passes in the blizzard.
For over 200 yards and a touchdown. What a night that was. That one was over in the first 21 seconds. By the way, he was wide open.
Staggering imbalance of numbers favoring the Broncos. Not often in the National Football League you'll see a team with only 40 yards to their credit for an entire half.
From the 41-yard line, 2nd and 10. Not third down. Not only 41 yards, Dan, but a team that has Schrader, Galt, Lofton, Allen, Christensen, who's been totally silent tonight, and the rest. They have marquee names on offense.
And they also have Rory Graves, a left tackle, a backup center,
who does a whiff job there on Rulon Jones. You know that it's an NFL statistic that teams who only have 41 yards offense at the half are trailing 99% of the time when they go to the locker room at halftime.
That's not right. It's 97%.
Well, 99 by my calculation.
3rd and 10 from the 41. Flag, and the minute you mention the silent Christensen, does he? No, he doesn't make the catch. And we'll see about the penalty.
Well, this will be a holding call against the Raiders, I would imagine, and it just goes from bad to worse. And if you don't believe me, ask him.
Holding, offense, number 63. Penalty is declined. 4th down.
John Giesecke.
John Giesecke, the center, who's having to play for Bill Lewis, who would be the starting center, who tried to play tonight and couldn't. He's out.
The much-traveled Jeff Gossett gets off a good kick, fielded by Natil at the 13-yard line. And he gets banged down at the 18-yard line. Tackle made by Reggie McKenzie. And again, coming up this Saturday at 3:30 Eastern Time, the Bruins in contention for a national title, coming off a tremendous victory over Nebraska against Washington. And Chief Jackson and Bob Brucey will be there. Iowa, Michigan State, with Gary Bender and Dick Vermeil. So check your local listings for the game in your area.
UCLA, not only with Troy Aikman at quarterback, but a talented group of big uglies up front.
Oh, yeah, in the trenches.
Oh, what a showdown they're heading for out there between UCLA and USC.
Yeah.
USC defeating Oklahoma this past week.
Well, here's the story of the second half, at least for the moment. Dorsett, and whether or not he can eclipse before the night is done, Jim Brown. He stopped for no gain here by Lyndon King. And there's the quarterback comparison for the first half. A little difference. Look at the rating.
105.5 rating for John Elway. 1.7 for Jay Schrader, and I did not know that you could get a rating that small. That's incredible. That has to be a mistake. That can't be right.
Wonderful world of microchips.
1.7.
Second and 10 from the 18. Elway throws it into the back of one of his linemen.
Oh, that's a
Bishop, and the 3 flags come down.
Ineligible receiver, and that'll go against the Broncos.
Yeah. You know what the deal is, Dan, as we wait for Hancock to tell us officially.
Illegal touching behind the line by an ineligible receiver. It is a loss of down penalty, third down.
According to my calculation, Dan, at the half, if a quarterback has a rating of 1.7, 100% of the time that team goes down to the feet.
I thought it was 99.8, but I'll go with you.
I rounded it off.
LA hitting Bishop right in the back, but he was open.
He'd have dropped it even if he'd have been facing Elway, so it wouldn't have made any difference. It would have been flags anyway. Behind the line, you can't touch.
Were you ever tackle eligible?
Yes. But then I got married. They never threw it to me, Frank. It broke my heart.
Third and 10. Elway. Incomplete. Mobley wants a flag and doesn't get it.
And he would have got it against Stacy Turan had that ball been catchable. Turan put his hands on his back and gave him a shove. The ball thoroughly overthrown.
Now Mike Horan, who's been pretty quiet tonight. It's always a good sign when your punter doesn't get into the game very often. It normally means things are going pretty well.
Here comes Mr. Excitement.
Horan's first punt, and Tim Brown to receive at the 40-yard line.
Oh, a boomer.
What a kick.
And Brown falls down, and that one goes out of bounds at the 13-yard line.
Well, when it goes bad, it goes bad. But what a punt by Mike Horan.
That was exciting for Tim Brown, too.
69 yards.
His attempt at a back pedal. Tim Brown won't be a corner.
Poor baby.
A little orange crush defense revisited in this one so far tonight. 13:24 to go, third quarter. Broncos on top, 24-0. Raiders have the football at their own 13-yard line, first and 10. Smith and Allen are the running backs as Schrader drops to throw and fires over the middle and hits Steve Smith, the fullback, out to the 28-yard line for a first down. He is tackled by Rick Dennison.
This is one of the Raiders that Dan Reeves is really high on. They would have liked to have drafted Steve Smith had they been able to. And young running back, good blocking back out of Penn State. You see so many of them come out of Penn State that can do so many different things. Phil Paterno almost demands that from his backs. Good receiver, good blocker.
To the 28-yard line. On first and 10, Marcus Allen knifes his way out to the 32-yard line. And it'll be second down and 6. You know, we talk about Mike Shanahan taking over. He's the youngest coach in the league by a lot. He's 36 years old, and Al Saunders of San Diego would be next in his early 40s. And you look at some of the guys who got breaks early on as young coaches, and Don Shula's name was mentioned before. Dan Reeves was a young head coach. None of them started out brilliantly. All had a period of time in which they had to install certain systems and get things going. Second down and 6 from the 32. Schrader. Incomplete, intended for Galt. Blanketed by Castile.
Good coverage by Jeremiah Castile. They did not know whether he'd be able to play because of a concussion he suffered against Kansas City last week. Good concentration. He is going to watch Galt all the way. Sees Galt look at the ball. Galt actually lured him into taking a look himself, trying to slow him up, but fine coverage. You couldn't ask for it to be better.
Great deal of contact between Castile and Willie Galt, but the ball clearly not catchable, and I think that That's the type of coverage that a year ago might have drawn a flag, but this year the NFL liberalizing what a defender can and cannot do. Get used to it, because that's not going to get called this year.
Shotgun on 3rd and 6. Allen stays in the block. Schrader going deep for goal. He has his man beat, but the throw is too far. He got behind Castillo.
And Jay took a pounding that time. Dropped by a couple Denver defensive linemen. The blitz was on, but again, it's a case of overthrowing the receiver. Willie Gault, one of the fastest men in the NFL, beats Castillo, beats him handily. Looked like Willie grabbed at his left leg there, didn't it? Did you see his left hand go down? But still, that ball a couple yards out in front, not catchable.
Here's Jeff Gossett, yet another punt for Gossett. And a fair catch called for this time. Mike Harden is there to accept it at the 19-yard line. Broncos have it. We have 11:45 to go in the 3rd period in the Mile High City. 24-0 Denver. Well, there's the commissioner on the right, Pete Rozelle, and his wife Carrie looking on.
Quite a pair. Terry, of course, very deeply involved with the Foundation for Children with Learning Disabilities. Started that foundation, has grown rapidly nationwide. Quite a couple.
And they're looking on as Denver continues to dominate. They lead 24-0. 1st and 10 Broncos at the 20-yard line. Tony Dorsett picks up a couple. A couple of notes here. We mentioned Horan's punt before. Officially it was 70 yards. That's the only punt of the night for Denver. Raiders have punted 7 times. And it's 24-0 as Tony Dorsett becomes the story right now. He needs 29 yards. And he'll move into 2nd place behind Walter Payton. He's got 68 at the moment.
It'd be fun to see him do it tonight. National audience, Monday Night Football. I know he'd love it.
2nd and 8. And he'll pick up a few more here. About 2 hard ones to the 24. So he's doing it in little bites right now.
Interesting. When Tony Dorsett overtakes Jim Brown, he'll still be over 4,400 yards behind Walter Payton. That just tells you about the remarkable career of Walter Payton.
And you have to throw in at the same time, what's going to happen if 2 things happen? Eric Dickerson stays healthy, and Eric Dickerson feels like playing for another 6 or 7 years. He'll blow by Walter Payton.
What if Bo Jackson quits baseball?
Do it next year.
3rd and 6. Massey makes the catch. Flag is thrown. Back at the 28. Play ends at the 35.
I'd be surprised if we don't get a little call this time going against the Broncos. I think we're going to get a pushing off.
After that signal, I'd be surprised too.
Offensive pass interference. Offense, number 88, 10-yard penalty. Repeat the down. 3rd down.
Clarence Kay.
Well, the crowd here in Denver is booing lustily, but a good call that time by the officials. Kay went to make his break to the sidelines, and at least by my eye, clearly pushed off of one of the Raider defensive backs. And those are the kind of things that happen when you're a little rusty, you're working your way back into things. Clarence Kay working his way back into playing time after being out a couple weeks with an injury.
3rd and 16 from the 14-yard line. Elway on the move.
Boy, that
throws is going to be picked off at the 42-yard line. Picked off by Eddie Anderson. And that's the 3rd interception of an Elway pass tonight.
John's just trying to throw that out of bounds, and he just miscalculated it.
Well, you can be an all-world quarterback like John Elway is, but when you throw a duck and you throw a terrible pass, you can't hide from it. And that's just the kind of mistake that John Elway is really too good of a quarterback to make.
It's not as bad as you get, too.
Oh, that's as bad as it gets. I mean, that's where if he was a rookie quarterback, a coach would think about benching him.
See Dan walk right by him there, Dan Reeves?
Yeah. I mean, as good as Elway is, he'll get a good chewing out tomorrow when they watch those films.
From the 40-yard line, 1st and 10. Schrader on a roll, wide open is Smith. Inside the 30, the 20, inside the 10, touchdown. And so the Raiders capitalize on the turnover. After the interception, the pass to Smith, and we talked about him and his size and his blocking ability, but they love his hands as well. And the Raiders, with an extra point, can make it 24-7.
Somebody blew it defensively. Smith coming out of the backfield has got to be picked up by a linebacker. They had a little bit of a deal going. He's wide open, but we told you about his ability not only to run the football but to block, but as a receiver, and that's the reason that Danny Reeves would have liked to have had the opportunity to have drafted him.
The Broncos gambled with a first down blitz and get caught. That time the Raiders had the right play on, and we're going to get a stoppage of play here.
They may be looking at the sideline, whether he stepped out or not.
We're going to reset the 30-second clock.
Nope, no overrule, just resetting the clock. Barr to kick. Chris Barr, so he has it tipped, but it goes through. Break for the Raiders. And we'll take a look at it as from a reverse ankle, Smith from Penn State scores the touchdown, and Barr
Set up the block
for the extra point.
Set the block beautifully. Tiptoes, staying in bounds, gets the 6. Good effort.
Who needs announcers? Here's the kick. From the 3 yards inside the end zone, Kenny Bell takes it out to the 20-yard line. Steve Strahan makes the tackle. And you want to illustrate that, baby? What do you think here?
Yes, this is the moon right here.
Yeah.
2:38 at 8:57. That's how many miles Tony Dorsett needs to catch Walter Payton.
Broncos come out 1st and 10 at their own 20-yard line as the Raiders try to make a game out of it after the Elway gap. And Dorsett spins and can't get anything as Rod Martin makes sure he's down after the initial contact by Robinson. And the smiling Martin, a Super Bowl MVP a few years back, in on the tackle.
9:09 left in the third quarter, and the Raider defense, maybe, if they could do anything at all stopping the Broncos offensively, maybe there's a bit of a spark in the Raider offense. Who knows?
2nd and 10. Denver from the 20-yard line. Sandy Winder turns around at the 25, and no, can't hold on. He's covered by Lyndon King. Incomplete. 3rd down and 10. Well, this could get interesting. There's Joe Collier, the defensive coordinator, walking away. And the Denver coaching staff, it's a revamped Denver coaching staff, because not only did Shanahan leave, but he took Alex Gibbs with him, and he took Nick Nicolau with him as well.
And the timing was what really hurt Dan Reeves. All those coaches leaving in March. Most other assistant coaches around the NFL have already found a home. Forced Dan Reeves to go into the college ranks to fill out his staff.
3rd down and 10. Raiders do jump offside. Free play as the Raiders were offside, and a wobbly pass is incomplete. And Elway is angry because he knew it was a free one.
A free one, and he had a man wide open, and he knew it was one that he should have got in there.
Rick Massey.
Another flag down.
I think Lyndon King might have been the defender that went offside. Getting ready to come on the blitz.
Offsides. Defense, number 52. 5 yards. Repeat the down. 3rd down.
It'll make it 3rd down and 5. Little dance step action coming up here.
We talked about the hard count of John Elway. Those are Lyndon King's legs in the lower right-hand part of your screen, number 52, and clearly straddling the football at the snap.
On 3rd and 5, King comes out. Elway out of the shotgun. And fires over the middle, intended for Sewell. Incomplete. And so the Raiders are trying to make it interesting as Horan will come in to punt for only the 2nd time in the game.
And they went back to exactly the same play that they scored a touchdown pass on at the end of the 1st half. Sewell that time working against Russell Carter was open, and somehow John misfired and led him far too much with the football. And let's see what the Raiders can do offensively. Maybe Jay Schrader has caught fire a little bit.
8:33 to play, 3rd quarter. Horan angles it, and again Brown slips, and Horan will get another beauty. Out of bounds at the 8-yard line as Tim Brown again loses his footing. And so Horan, who had a 70-yarder, follows that baby with a 67-yarder.
We're watching Tim Brown. He returned 3 punts for touchdowns last year for Notre Dame. Twice now we've seen him on his keister trying to field it here at Denver. This is not what we're going to see the rest of his career. He's a great football player.
Well, at least they had the real star of that show doing the promo.
I beg your pardon? You. I can't believe you're still here. 3rd quarter.
I'm partial to those St. Louis guys.
Dan Dierdorf, whose record of games played is being eclipsed tonight by Dorsett. Raiders have it at the 9-yard line, 1st and 10. As they try to get back into the game, Marcus Allen escapes a tackle and turns a 1-yard loss into about a 7-yard gain.
Our version of Tim McCarver on my right, with all of his appliances.
We labored away together in St. Louis. Tim with the baseball Cardinals.
What a great job he does.
And we seem to have both found a home here at ABC. Not all bad, huh?
Well, we're thinking about bringing you in as the 4th man in the booth.
If I only could have caught Steve Carlton, just think how long I could have played.
That's right. Well, that extended Tim's career a few years, didn't it?
Sure did.
But the playoffs begin next Tuesday. From the 18-yard line, 2nd down, and a long yard. And that's caught by Gall, and he's rolled down at the 29-yard line by Jeremiah Castile.
Even though they were unable to get the ball to Willie Gall in the 2 fly patterns he ran a few moments ago, you saw how far Jeremiah Castile was playing off Gall. He just ran down there, didn't even threaten the fly pattern, and picked up about 8 yards on it.
Well, I give the credit to that to Marcus Allen, who gave the Raiders a chance to play on a 2nd and short rather than a 2nd and long by making that big run. But your point is valid, Frank. Castile clear out of the picture on his coverage. But you can afford to play like that when you've got a 24-7 lead in a cornerback.
Raiders from the 29-yard line. 6:44 to go in the 3rd period. Schrader getting hot. Gold at the 43-yard line. Willie Gall making the catch, and Schrader getting in a groove.
The Broncos with a blitz that time, forcing single coverage. Gall reads it, breaks off his route, curls up on the inside. Jay Schrader reads it as well and gets him the football. A look at Steve Berline there signaling in the play, and even if the Raiders don't win tonight's game, if Jay Schrader can at least work out some of the kinks, Mike Shanahan might get at least something out of it, even if they don't get the win.
3 times as many yards already in the 2nd half as the 1st from the 44, 1st and 10, Los Angeles. Brown on an end around. Does a hurdle job and takes it to the 49-yard line. So Brown, who would have been stopped initially at the line of scrimmage, does a little Roger Kingdom move and picks up several yards.
He did a lot of this at Notre Dame, and we've been watching him tonight. He has fallen down on 2 attempted punt returns, and you have to suspect that maybe the altitude is carrying the ball a little further than he is used to it being carried on a punt. Let's watch him now on the reverse. Fine execution of the hurdle here. Good effort.
A lot of running. A lot of running for only 5 yards.
2nd and 5 from the 49-yard line. Schrader going deep for Lofton. He's blanketed. Incomplete. Covered by Castillo. Castillo really doing a nice job tonight. He's a fellow who suffered a concussion last week. There's Braxton, but Castillo suffered a concussion last week in Kansas City, and there was some question as to whether or not he would even play tonight, and he's done a nice job.
Jay Schrader is going to have to become, I think, a little more selective on his long patterns. It's like he's making his mind up before the snap and throwing the ball, regardless of how well the man is covered. The coverage could not have been any better that time than Jeremiah Castillo had on James Lofton, and yet, again, Jay Schrader threw right into that coverage. We saw him do it repeatedly in the first half, and I don't know, maybe he needs to spend a little more time and survey the field, and something confused him here. Schrader and the Raiders take a timeout.
It's a pretty important play.
Timeout.
It's an important play in the sense they're mounting a drive. They've already chopped 7 points off what was a 24-point Denver lead. And if they can get into the end zone on a long drive here, we've got a ball game. And a 3rd and 5 coming up.
You know, I was talking about Jay Schrader and his being selective. I just want you to watch this coverage. Now, you're Jay Schrader. As you look to the left side of the field, what would you see here that would make you want to throw the football? And I'm saying absolutely nothing. Castillo has the inside position. Lofton can't conceivably make that catch and stay in bounds. And I think you're running a 50-50 chance of putting that ball up in the air that's going to be intercepted.
And what we didn't see on that shot was Tyrone Braxton was inside of that. 2 men on the coverage. Now, somewhere, somebody has got to be a little looser than that. And it's just the unfamiliarity with the offense that I think keeps Schrader going to the covered man. It'll have to do nothing but improve. I saw him too many times in 1986 when he went to the Pro Bowl, over 4,000 yards. There's a lot of quarterback in this young man.
3rd down and 5. Out of the shotgun, we've got a penalty flag. It's to Allen. There's no play. The play is dead before the snap.
Ball start, offense, left guard, 5-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
And that would be Charlie Hanna.
And he clearly pulls away early. Charlie Hanna's lined up at left guard, and you can see him pull out in a hurry. This is him right here. Watch him rock backwards before the ball is snapped.
Why, though, Dan?
Just lack of concentration. Seeing the blitz. You see Jim Ryan up in the hole. He saw Ryan and moved before the snap of the ball. That's, you know, in a situation like this, he's a veteran player. Shouldn't make that mistake.
12 years he's been around.
On 3rd and 10, here they come, but the Raiders pick them up, and the pass is too high, but there's a flag. Willie Gault was wrapped up by Mark Haynes for the interference call. The Raiders did a nice job as Denver rushed 6. And Schrader was able to get it away, and it'll be a 1st down after the penalty.
And the Raiders got lucky that time because that ball was severely overthrown. But he clearly got hit that time by Haynes. I watch Haynes make his move and wrap his arms around Gault's waist way before the football gets there. That's interference all the way, but, you know, that's a pass that was really suspect as to whether it would have been completed anyway.
Haynes had just been beaten a few plays ago by Gault. Playing it tight, playing it aggressive. Key penalty for the Raiders.
You sense this crowd here becoming a little uneasy?
Absolutely. Gault out, Fernandez in, Allen in motion on 1st and 10. Toss to Vance Mueller, and he's tripped up, stopped at the 43-yard line. Tackle is made by Bruce Klosterman, number 97. 5 minutes, 25 seconds to play, 3rd period. Broncos on top, 24-7. Raiders no factor through the first half. Big break off an Elway interception. A pass from Schrader to Smith put him into the end zone. And here they are mounting a nice drive. Currently at the 42 of Denver. 2nd down and 6. Pass to Smith. Inside the 30. There goes Smith again down the sideline. fullback.
Exactly the same play. Exactly the same play. They ran to the other side of the field for a touchdown.
But this time, Dan, there was no blitz. Nobody picked him up. He's wide open, and one of the better linebackers, Jim Ryan, was trying to provide the coverage, number 50, and he just let Smith get outside of him, and then Ryan, never known for his speed, doesn't make the tackle, and Smith's on his way.
Ryan got a hand on Smith's hip. That's about the extent of it right here, and Mervin Fernandez turns back to the inside. Sees Smith all the sideline he needs. And this crowd has quieted more than considerably here in Denver. They can't believe it.
Barr's extra point is good, and so the drive kept alive on the pass interference call on Haynes. And then Smith, who has caught touchdown passes of 40 and 42 yards, puts the Raiders right back into the game. 24-14 with 4:44 remaining in the third period.
And the Raiders have things settled down, and there is a little get-together in front of the Denver bench. Denver coming out with a comfortable 24-0 lead, perhaps letting up a little bit. And you know the Raiders just got laced when they were in the locker room, and they were humiliated with that first half. There are a lot of veteran ball players on this Raiders team, and they do have a lot of pride. And they did not have the poise in the first half, and they came back out playing different football here in the second half. And sometimes when that momentum turns, it is hard to turn it back around.
Nick Nicolau, who coached here at Denver, and there's Shanahan, and Alex Gibbs was the other coach. Three of them came over from the Denver staff. And what was it Reeves was telling us today, the chronology of the hiring of Shanahan? He said Al Davis asked him during Super Bowl week if he could talk to Shanahan, and Dan says, would you mind waiting until after the game?
Which was, I think, an appropriate response.
I think so. Barr, 1 yard deep. Kenny Bell comes out with it. And he's knocked down at the 21-yard line, and a flag goes down.
Here's Steve Smith lined up at the fullback position. Here's Jim Ryan. Watch the crossing action. Smith is going to come out, but Ryan is not going to be able to come across and make the play. He's just going to be a little late. The crossing action in the backfield freezes Ryan just momentarily. By the time he reads the play correctly, it's too late for him to come out and get anything more than a hand on the hip of Smith.
You know, you wouldn't expect that from Ryan either. He is one of the better pass defending linebackers in the league.
That crossing action in the backfield, I think, froze him. And if you freeze a linebacker for more than just a second in this league with the kind of athletes we're talking about, it's going to end up a big play. Here's the late hit on the ground, and
oh, yeah,
that's a spear right in the kidney. That should draw the flag, and did.
He was on the way back to the huddle. Oh, that hurts a team that's on the move.
Hurts the guy lying on the ground, too.
Oh, it does smart.
Trey Junkin, the guilty party, from the 37-yard line. Elway, talk about time, and then he hits Johnson, who does a toe dance at the 43-yard line for a gain of 6. What did he have, 7 seconds, 8 seconds?
Raiders in their 3-4 on first down, and they got absolutely no pressure at all from Mike Wise, McKell, or Howie Long up front. Elway just standing there looking until finally Johnson uncovered. You got to get some kind of pressure, even though you're only rushing 3.
Well, it's the Denver's offense turn now to try to assert itself. Refs will control this game away from the Raiders.
2nd and 3. Dorsett and Winder lined up behind. And here's Tony going to the outside. He escapes Wise and then gets run out of bounds by Anderson, or run down just shy of the boundary by Anderson at the 50. Haynes also coming over to help out, and a first down with 4:08 left in the third period. He needs 97 yards total tonight to surpass Brown, so he's 21 yards shy of the great Cleveland fullback.
Twice now, Dorsett has got that first down on a play designed to go inside, and one other time he got the touchdown. He still has, in his 12th year, enough savvy and enough speed to get outside when he knows the amount of yardage he has to pick up.
Frank, I'd say that thing was headed for right guard.
Absolutely.
And he ends up taking it all the way around the left outside.
Tony D again slithers through for a pickup of 4 to the 46-yard line. Matt Millen
You know,
on the tackle.
There's a classic example of the way Dorsett runs so effectively. How many times do you see a running back that every time there's a decision, they almost automatically make that decision to make their break to the sideline? That time, Dorsett is content to make his cut back to the inside. It's not going to be a huge play, but it's a solid play. It's always positive yardage.
And look at this. The disparity in the first quarter, the second quarter, and now the third quarter belonging to the Raiders. 2nd and 6 from the 46-yard line. Sammy Winder to the 46-yard line. It was 2nd and 6. Lyndon King and Stacy Turan come in on the stop. And it's 3rd down and 6 now from the 46-yard line.
Al, I don't want to be an I told you so, but I told you there's no way they could be this bad in the second half as they were in the first half.
Did he say that, Frank?
Well, we're going to replay it a little later. He has it queued up on his illustrator.
It's impossible that they could be as bad as they were in the first half.
3rd down and 6 from the 46, and here they come, and it's Howie Long leading the charge.
I'll say he's leading it.
Yeah. Ask Billy Bryan, the center.
And they're going to call that against Elway, I believe. And Howie is complaining that he was drawn offside, and they pointed an accusing finger at Elway.
Illegal start on the quarterback.
You betcha.
They're on the defense. 5-yard penalty.
You can't do that. You can't make that kind of a motion. You can't do anything that is an obvious attempt to draw the lineman offside.
John Elway's back in the shotgun formation.
Now watch this. See that movement?
Yep. That's a good call by the officials. That's a good call because that's clearly what brought Howie Long offsides. John's going to complain bitterly that just isn't his intent, but nonetheless, that sharp movement like that as a quarterback, you're not allowed to make it.
That shoulder hunch.
Return the field clock to 1:52.
They're putting 12 seconds back on the clock. 1:52 to play in the third quarter. Here's another look. Sometimes you get away with this move.
Sometimes you do, but the good officials will catch it. Watch John Elway. Now, this is in conjunction with making a hard count. Watch his body twitch and his hands come together. Now, it doesn't look like much when you're looking at it in slow motion, but at the same time, if he goes hut like that and makes that movement, hey, in the books, that's a foul.
So it's 3rd and 11 from the 49-yard line after the penalty. Look out on the blitz, and Elway gets sacked back at the 41-yard line. Coming flying through that time, Malcolm Taylor, who is the backup to Bill Pickell at nose guard.
And he wasn't even blocked. A serious miscommunication in the Bronco offensive line. You just don't turn the defensive end loose. That's where Malcolm Taylor was lined up. Denver unraveling a little bit here.
So now Brown, who has fallen down the last 2 times he's attempted to field punts.
We'll give Horan some credit for that. I mean,
absolutely.
He's unleashed a couple boomers.
And this one is another boomer, a beauty. And this time Brown lets it go, and look at this. It's out of bounds at the 3. Horan has had a 70-yard punt, a 67-yard punt, and now a 56-yard punt out of bounds at the 3.
And that's the best of the bunch. You get a net 56 out of bounds.
You hear it from a lot of deep men when they come here for the first time. Punt return men. That ball seems to hang up in this high air forever. Kickers love to kick here. They love to kick the field goals here.
I can win a trip to Hawaii with a performance like that. Make your reservations for the Pro Bowl. You can't do it any better than Horan has this evening. Raiders begin from the 3. 1:09 to play, third quarter. Schrader, that line does its job, and he hits Fernandez 40 to the 50-yard line and tackled from behind by Simon Fletcher. Swerving Mervyn Fernandez, a terror in the Canadian League. Raiders signed him to a big contract track. Last year, he was a little overweight. He's lost 15 pounds, and a big gainer here of 48 yards.
And what a bullet, Frank, by Jay Schrader. Perfect pass.
Zone defense, you see underneath is Mark Haynes, and Schrader threw it in there absolutely into the seam, and then he just did it all. Mervyn Fernandez, he had great years up in the Canadian Football League. Injured last year, and maybe he's coming into his own.
At the 49-yard line, Marcus Allen in motion, and the pass is thrown out of bounds way over the head of Willie Gault.
Smart move that time by Jay Schrader. As he had got ready to let that ball go, he saw Jim Ryan had settled underneath Willie Gault. No way to get that, and I'm telling you, mid-stride, he let that ball go high and throw it away. Big-time play by Jay Schrader.
Burline sending in the signal, and Schrader checking it off his wrist.
He looks at the wrist. He makes sure he has it down. The proper formation. He knows what he can change from that. It's all on the wrist.
Second and 10 out of the shotgun from the 49. And he steps up and steps through the defense and is close to a first down at the 39-yard line. Ball loose, but after he was downed.
I think they're going to give him the first down. Let's see where they put this, but it looked like he was far enough over.
It'll end the quarter in any event. Hantak looks over, and he's going to measure. And so the third quarter will come to an end as they take a look as to whether or not the Raiders have picked up a first down in a big quarter.
Third draw of the
for
night
the Raiders.
That they have run Schrader on.
And we'll tell you about it when we come back to Denver after this message about an upcoming show on ABC and a word from your local station.
Sunday.
Once I get the chance.
Fourth quarter, Al Michaels, Frank Gifford, Dan Dierdorf, and what was a rout and a laugher for Denver is all of a sudden a football game. After the third quarter, it's 24-14. When we left you for the break between quarters, as Hantak and Reeves have a few words, they were measuring for a first down. It was a first down, and there are the numbers through the first 45 minutes.
And as you look at those numbers over on the Raiders side, the vast bulk of that was accomplished in the third quarter. Of their 239 for the entire game, almost all of it came in quarter number 3.
198 because they had 41 at the half. That's not too bad.
No, not at all.
First down, L.A. 39-yard line. They trail by 10. They keep it on the ground. They give it to Marcus Allen, and he fights his way forward for a gain of about 6, and he's stopped by the nose tackle, Greg Cragen.
You know, one might well ask, what are they doing differently? They're not doing anything differently. They have just come out with a little bit of a different attitude, a tougher attitude. They have calmed down. They've eased off the mistakes. And Denver, I think, I can understand it. 24-0 at halftime. Now you're starting to think, well, let's get the statistics going for me. They let up a little bit. This whole thing is flip-flop.
I'll tell you what got him started when John Elway throws up that duck out of his own end zone.
And they cashed in on the pass to Steve Smith. Second down, 4. Schrader rolling. Fletcher chases him. Throw incomplete. Lofton nearest to it, covered by Haynes. Third and 4.
Simon Fletcher all over the place tonight. We documented in the first half how he was playing the run from a defensive end. He plays linebacker, lined up a defensive end, went back into coverage and made an interception. Now flushing Jay Schrader out of the pocket and forcing an incomplete pass. I think Simon Fletcher gets the versatility award tonight.
Good move last year on the part of Danny Reeves. They moved him from a defensive end to a linebacker. He can do both.
He's doing the types of things Mecklenburg does. Third down, 4. Schrader and Christensen interference. All over him was Kevin Guidry, rookie out of LSU. The rookie defensive back had Christensen wrapped up.
Well, you like to play that tight end a little tight, but not quite that tight.
He had an interesting dilemma because if he had not have been on him that close, Schrader probably could have got the completion to a sure-handed Christensen. He's forced to throw it low because he sees Guidry. Guidry's there too early. obvious foul, and it keeps the Raider drive alive.
His big mistake there was not so much in timing, but it was instead of making a play for the football, he made a play for Christensen's body. Yeah, if he makes a play for the football, you could equate it into being good coverage, but when he just throws his arms around Christensen's hips, then he's going to draw that flag. I mean, that's a rookie mistake that Guidry, I'm sure, will be told about and hopefully won't make in the future.
Raiders first down at the 26-yard line. This drive began at the 3. And Brown on an end around, well executed, to the 14-yard line. He stopped by Greg Cragen.
He turns into a running back. Excuse me, Dan. He turns into a running back so quickly. He did so much of this at Notre Dame. Comes back and gets the ball in the reverse. You have any kind of misdirection going, and they are reading Marcus Allen, number 32. You get a hesitation, and you get a little bit of a gap. But this, he just turns into a fine running back.
Steve Smith laid a nice block on that play. He's the man who scored 2 touchdowns. That's Allen in motion. Smith is the fullback. Stays in the block. Then Schrader. And Schrader helps to move the pile down to the 10-yard line.
I don't know how much of that was Jay, but give the Raider offensive line a little credit there. I can only assume that was a designed quarterback draw again.
It wasn't pretty, but it was effective.
Yeah, or else it's one of the quickest reads in the history of quarterbacking to go back and plant and take off that fast.
In the history of read them.
He can make a busted play look better than any quarterback I've ever seen.
Hey, you know, you wonder with 4 draw plays, that would be 4 if it was a play, how long he's going to be around.
2nd and 6 from the 10. Schrader has rushed for 32 yards tonight. Heat is on. Throw is off. Intended for Smith. Rulon Jones put the pressure on. Tyrone Braxton covered Smith. 3rd down.
I think the Raiders were counting on a little misdirection to take care of Jones. It didn't work. Risky play, not even blocking a player the caliber of Rulon Jones.
He's in there for one thing, and that's to pressure the quarterback, and he did his job. Big play for the Raiders right here.
They wouldn't dare run the quarterback draw again.
Oh, don't count it out.
From the shotgun, he's flanked by Allen and Smith.
First, maybe they should. He's 0-5 from the gun.
Both backs stay in the block. And Schrader fires to the corner of the end zone. No, intended for Lofton. Castile over covering. And now Chris Barr, who's had problems this season, comes in for the field goal attempt. He has not kicked one from more than 30 yards. This one will be spotted at about the 17, so it'll be about a 27-yard attempt.
And the significance here is that this touchdown gets them within this field goal gets them within a touchdown of a tie. And this will turn the Jets up on the Broncos. The heat will definitely be a couple notches higher if Barr makes this field goal.
Spotted at the 18-yard line, and Barr's kick is good. So this drive began at the 3, culminates with 3. 28-yarder for Barr, and the Raiders trail by 7. 12:24 to go.
Honey, should we take the other car?
I'd rather not.
Ford Escort now offers an attractive new design, plus fuel injection and a 660 powertrain warranty. In fact, the redesigned Ford Escort may make your other car seem considerably less attractive.
Honey, aren't we ever going to take the other car?
Nope. The world's best-selling car just keeps looking better all the time.
Now get a $500 cash bonus on 88.5 Ford Escorts.
Uncle Alex, this store is a lot bigger than your...
You talk about a horse, huh? It's a hoss.
And a half.
Absolutely. 3 yards into the end zone. Ken Bell comes out with it. And he runs it back out to the 17. The ball is loose.
Ooh, and they're looking for it. They're not going to rule this guy down. Whoever comes out of here with a football is going to get to keep it.
That's Reggie McKenzie struggling.
I mean, this is nothing but a free-for-all now. Arm strength, hand strength, and the Raiders
have it. Can you believe this? The Raiders recover the fumble, and at the bottom of the pile, arms upraised, Steve Strahan.
It's nothing but a free-for-all when that ball is loose. If you don't see the officials marking it down, in other words, running up to the pile and pointing down, they're just wrestling like crazy in there because they know whoever sees daylight holding the football is going to end up owning it.
Reggie McKenzie punching that ball out. And you know what's happened now. Mike Shanahan has talked quickly to Jay Schrader. He knows Joe Collier, they're in trouble right now. Joe Collier will go to the defense that he can count on the most, and Mike Shanahan, in all probability, knows what that is.
And that defense has been on the field a long time in the second half. As the Raiders have dominated, Allen to the outside, cuts it back in, and takes it down to the 12-yard line, tackled by Rick Dennison. 12 minutes remaining. Denver winning 27 consecutive games in which they've led going into the fourth quarter in the regular season.
You don't need us to tell you that that's in jeopardy here tonight. The way they have played offensively in the second half, which is doing nothing, and defensively allowing Jay Schrader to spark the Raiders offense with his passing game.
2nd and 6 from the 13. Fernandez comes in motion. Toss to Allen. An old USC play, and he takes it down to the 7-yard line for a first down. Rick Dennison makes the tackle. Reverts back to his college days on that play.
That's another back, too, who will break it back against the grain no matter what the traffic is, where you are in the field. And when you get down close to the goal line, inside the 10, inside the 15, and you break it back across the middle, you know you're going to pay for every inch of yardage you get.
Remember how we've talked in the past, guys, about after a big play, such as this fumble on the kickoff return, how quickly you see some offensive coordinators, guys calling the plays, immediately try to go to that big play down in the end zone. And you really have to admire Shanahan's play calling here. Willing to be conservative, keeping it on the ground. Marcus Allen left, Marcus Allen right, and look at the results they're getting. A first down. Good play calling by Mike Shanahan.
And I think he's thinking right with Joe Collier, the defensive coordinator of the Broncos. They, of course, have been together for the past 4 years. And there's Joe Collier, the chess game being played out.
First down, 1st and goal from the 7. Long count. Allen through the 5. Pushed back by Jim Ryan. At the top of the telecast, we mentioned, and it's unbeknownst, I'm sure, to football fans, the travails of the Raiders, the fact that they have lost 16 of their last 22 regular season games, a record equaled by the likes of the Atlanta Falcons. If they win this game, this would be a watershed game for them. If they were able to come from behind and knock off Denver under these circumstances, you talk about turning things around.
Conversely, this would drive a stake right through the heart of the Denver Broncos.
Absolutely. 2nd and goal at the 5. End around again. Brown to the 3. Ryan breaks it up. 3rd down.
I can't get into end arounds on the 5-yard line.
Takes too long, and the defense is lined up at the line of scrimmage. It had them fooled, but they were up so close in their defense. They reacted so quickly, they stopped it for little or no gain.
Sorry, Mike, we got to take it all back what we said about your play calling. You only get one mistake with us.
Speak for yourself.
That's a tough call on the 5-yard line. Tough to make that work.
Here once again, Mike Shanahan, the former offensive coordinator for the Broncos, has got to know what Joe Collier likes on 3rd down goal to go at the 4-yard line.
And they take a timeout now.
That's their second they've used this half, is it not?
Yep. 1 remaining. 9:32 to go. 3rd and goal when we come back. He's going to need a manicure tomorrow. As he looks on, his team has erased A 24-0 deficit to make it 24-17 as they try to tie it now from the 4 on 3rd down and goal after the timeout. Brown in motion. Inside handoff. Allen, room, hurdles, and he is in. Bruce Wilkerson with the block. Marcus Allen with the move. And the Raiders are an extra point away from tying the game.
And give Jay Schrader credit because he had to handle another high snap.
And Mike Shanahan, give him credit. Had the right call at the right time. Blitz was on. Here it comes. Ryan up the middle. Good block by Wilkinson. And then Marcus Allen smells the end zone and dives into it. That's something we've seen Dallas run with confidence in a great running back. Instead of a pass, you go with the draw. They do it over and over with Herschel Walker.
Who'da thunk it?
Yeah, Barr with the extra point. 9:26. Not only have they erased it, they've erased it in less than 20 minutes. 9:26 still to play. Early in the 4th, 24 all. If you are just rejoining us, we ain't lying. It's 24 all. And if you left us at halftime when it was 24-0, this game is tied as the kick comes down to Ricky Nattiel at the 3-yard line. And he's wrapped up at the 20. And Ron Brown makes the tackle. You know, it's amazing. Who would have believed of all things tonight what we thought was that academic botched timeout by Denver at the end of the first half, costing them a field goal attempt, is now a very significant play.
And the John Elway wounded duck, as Dan touched on, threw it away. 24-0 lead. Bang, they turn it into a touchdown.
But take both those things by Denver, throw them out, give the Raiders a great deal of credit.
Oh, yeah.
Being able to come back from a 24-0 deficit, playing as bad a half of football as I've just about ever seen. A great deal of composure by Mike Shanahan's team here tonight.
2 different games, first half and second half. From the 21-yard line, Elway in a dogfight now, almost has it intercepted by Lyndon King.
And I think the only thing that kept King from intercepting that is that John just threw it so hard. I mean, he threw it right into the arms of Lyndon King, but it was an MX missile coming in, and he just couldn't handle it. Elway, how do I describe his second half? Less than stellar? Looking a bit unnerved.
How fast has it taken the Raiders to catch up? 24 points in 15 minutes and 10 seconds. That's 10 seconds more than a quarter. Still a ton of time left. 9-12. 2nd and 10. Sideline route. That's caught by Johnson. He's wrapped up there by Haynes.
Another Elway bullet. And Haynes had absolutely great position on Vance Johnson, and I don't think he thought Elway could get it in there that quickly. He was in perfect position. Elway just rifled it. Let's take a look at Haynes challenging him right at the line of scrimmage. And Johnson will take it to the outside. Haynes is right there. Just smoke on that ball, and nothing Haynes could do anything about it.
Smart play, though, by Haynes that time, realizing that by the position of Johnson's body, he couldn't go through him to the football. He ends up letting him make the catch rather than take the penalty.
On first down, here is Tony Dorsett. And he goes to the other side to the 40 and knocked down at the 47-yard line. So the story within the story, as Dorsett chases Brown, he's stopped here by Anderson.
And if he's not stopped by Eddie Anderson, he may go.
And that so seldom is effective. Here he comes, John Elway, the complete football player, even with the braces on the knee, tries to get in there for the block. And Dorsett, well, who knows, maybe a few years ago all the way, Dan. But he does get the first down on a great effort.
If Elway touches Anderson, that's a clip all the way. John Elway's helmet was clear behind Eddie Anderson, but
he is now 2 yards away from moving past Brown.
I think of more importance right now to everyone in the orange jerseys is the Denver offensive team putting some sort of a drive together, chewing up some clock and getting some points.
And Denver takes a timeout here at the 48-yard line. So 7:44 to go in the 4th quarter. Sort of an unusual spot for a timeout after a first down at their own 48-yard line.
I guess if you're Tony Dorsett, though, if you're going to move ahead of Jim Brown, why not do it in a meaningful situation?
Sure.
Why do it in a 24-0 ball game, which is what it was at halftime, in a meaningless mop-up capacity? I'd like those yards, if I was Tony Dorsett, to be some yards I gained when my team really needed it. And, man, do they need it.
I think Dan Reeves would take it any way he could get it at this point.
Oh, Reeves would have been happy with the mop-up.
He thought he had one going, I think, for a while. All of a sudden, the Elway interception that should never have happened. 7 points, and the Raiders a different ball club entirely here in the second half.
Well, I think it's almost a situation now that he who makes the first mistake is going to lose the ball game.
1st and 10 from the 48. Fake toss to Dorsett. Elway fires, caught, Natil, 1st down, 30-yard line. Tackled by Haynes.
It may not be Elway's greatest game, but he shows you the extra element he brings to an offense. His key receiver, number 82, the man he looked for first, was well covered once again by Mark Haynes. Nevertheless, he pulls up, has the time. He's looking now for Johnson, who's covered by Haynes. Has time. Now he's going to run. Now he's going to throw, and he has time to pick up Natil. That's vintage John Elway. Wow, he can beat you in so many ways.
1st and 10 at the 30. Under 7 minutes to play. Slides to the 28. Matt Millen will get credit for the tackle. 6:45 to go.
Remember also, Denver certainly has one of the hot kickers in Rich Carlos in the league. And he can reach it from way out.
You see Elway give Millen a little pat on the shoulder when he hopped up. That has to be discouraging to be a defensive player, to chase the guy all around the field like John Elway. And then when you finally get a hit on him, he gets up in a good mood. You're sucking wind, and he gets up laughing, pats you on the shoulder, says, see you next time.
Carlos warming up for what he hopes is an extra point. 2nd and 7 at the 27. Dorsett. Nope, now he's going to need more than 2 because he loses 2.5. Greg Townsend. So he moved within a couple of yards of Brown, and now he's back to 4 or 5.
Big item now is hang on to the football, and of course they are expressing that every time they come out of the huddle, because the Raiders will be trying to strip it, and they're good at it.
They need some more yardage, though. If you look at the placement of the ball, we're looking at almost a 47-yard field goal for Carlos. I'm sure the Broncos would like to have it somewhat shorter than that.
3rd and 9 from the shotgun. Little shovel pass. Sewell. 1st down. Still on his feet at the 15 and tackled at the 12 by Eddie Anderson on the old shovel pass.
Stranahan with a great call with the draw to Marcus Allen for the touchdown. Now Danny Reeves with a super call here. You've got to anticipate the Raiders are thinking pass, 3rd down, long yardage. You let them come in, you shovel pass, you trap block it, and you give it to a man who is a good running back as well as a fine receiver.
And Frank, it's probably the highest percentage pass you could throw, because if he fumbles the ball right there, if he drops the ball, it's just an incomplete pass. It's not a fumble. So look how safe it is, and at the same time, how effective.
1st and 10 from the 12. Here's Dorsett, and he gets to about the 9-yard line. Tripped up by Lyndon King.
That should put him very close.
Yeah, he was close. He was within 2, and they dropped the 4 back, and we'll get it from the official stats here in a moment as to what they're going to credit him with. He's back to 96, so he's 2 shy again.
Interesting dilemma for the Broncos. If he gets that 2nd place record, will they stop the game and congratulate him? They got a drive going. They got momentum. Wonder what they'll do.
I think they're planning on it. 2nd down. 8 from the 10. Mobley goes in motion. Fake to Dorsett. Elway throws it out of the end zone.
Good play. Smart
Excellent
play. You don't want to get caught with the football and lose that much yardage. you also don't want to take a chance and throw one up where there's any chance whatsoever of an interception. The Raiders secondary all over the Bronco receivers, and Elway just dumps the ball in the stands.
Interesting call, and Natil was one of the intended receivers. That's Mike Haynes grabbing a little wardrobe as Natil tries to break it loose.
Whoa, that's defensive holding all the way. Oh, Mike Haynes got away with a big one there.
On 3rd and 8. Sewell makes the catch. Tackled at the 8-yard line by Dennis Price.
Another high percentage pass. It's not going to hurt you if you are incomplete with it. You get rid of it quick to avoid the sack, and it's one that you can break in and possibly take it into the end zone.
Now Carlos with a chip shot. He hasn't missed a kick this season. 3:20 to play. Keep in mind now those timeouts. The Raiders have already used 2. They're down to 1. Broncos have 2 remaining. Carlos tonight, 1 attempt at a field goal that was good from 39. This one is a 26-yarder. Kubiak holds, and the kick is good. Carlos boots it through with 3:01 remaining in the 4th quarter, and the Broncos retake the lead.
It has been an ineffective half of football for the Denver offensive team, but they came together. They put it together when they had to. A 3-point drive, giving them the lead, and the guy making it happen was this guy, John Elway, moving out of the pocket either to the right, to the left, throwing it away when he had to, running it for just a couple of yards. A sound offensive drive that time by the Broncos.
Did you see him walk out on the field congratulating not his wide receivers, not his running backs? He went out there and he congratulated that offensive line. He worked his way right down the line. Billy Bryan, Keith Bishop. He's the leader of this ball club in many ways.
Every way.
One by example.
3:01 left in the game. Again, the Raiders just have 1 timeout in the 80s. Isn't that amazing? With the type of lead we saw rung up tonight, teams are 80-1 when leading by at least 24 points at the half. 80-1. Raiders erased it, but now they're down by 3 again.
I knew that, by the way.
Yeah, I'm sure. Who was the one?
Green Bay, Tampa Bay.
Deep kick. Touchback. Brown downs it in the end zone. Out they come to the 20-yard line. Schrader.
Well, this is kind of a break for Jay, getting to start at the 20-yard line. A lot of times this half, with the misplays of Brown and Horan's punting, he's had to start inside his own 20.
Don't forget, Dan, as Al pointed out a moment ago, we've mentioned it several times, 1 timeout remaining for the Raiders, and of course they have the 2-minute warning to work with.
And they also have to deal now with a mile-high stadium crowd that is getting into it. And I hate it when they do this. Our booth starts to shake.
Oh, boy. And our cameras as well. At the 20-yard line, 1st and 10. Schrader, a one-hopper to goal. 2nd down. 2:52 left.
Well, that's one thing they did need, was a misfire on 1st down, leaving them with 2nd and long. One of the things the Raiders have had going for them this half is an effective ground game. Plenty of time to keep the ball on the ground. You've got the 2-minute warning coming up that's going to stop the clock in 52 seconds. I don't think they have to exclusively go to the air to get in field goal range.
You run it, you call 2 plays in the huddle at the same time and come up to the line of scrimmage quickly.
2nd and 10 from the 20. Smith makes the catch. Smith has the 1st down and a 16-yard pickup out to the 36-yard line. The big man tonight, 2 touchdown catches, picks up the 1st here out to the 36. 2:35 to go.
And funny, the guy who really extolled the virtues of Steve Smith was this morning when we talked to Dan Reeves, the coach of the other ball club. And he said, the one thing I worry about is Steve Smith and his ability to come out of the backfield as a receiver. I don't know that Dan Reeves knew how prophetic he'd be.
Clock running, 2:14 remaining. 1st and 10 from the 36. Toss to Vance Mueller. And he takes it to the 39, and that takes us to the 2-minute warning. So the Raiders, with 2 minutes to go, will have a 2nd and 7 from the 39, 1 timeout remaining, and the Broncos lead by a field goal. Mike Shanahan has discussed it with Schrader. He sends in the play. It's 2nd down and 6 from the 40-yard line. There is Barr, who has not made one from outside 30 yards. Loosening up as the Raiders try to at least get in the field goal range. They have 1 timeout. We have 2 minutes to play. The Broncos lead by 3. 2nd and 6. Three-man rush. Screen to Marcus Allen. 1st down. Gets to the Bronco 48-yard line.
Good call. You've got the time. You're inside 2 minutes, but you still have the confidence to work the middle of the field.
Not so sure, Dan. However, with that 1 timeout remaining, they should not have had another play ready to go. It's not that difficult. You know that.
That has to be Schrader's.
Absolutely.
Recent arrival on the scene. You're right. They've wasted 10 seconds here, at least by not having a play called at the line.
Much more than that. We're down to 1:23. They wasted about 30 and more on a long count from the 49. Schrader airs it out for goal. Incomplete. He'd gotten behind Castile.
They have gone at Castile all night with the fly. That time, Galt was behind Castile, and Schrader led it to the inside. And with the speed of Galt, you've got to release that ball a little more quickly. He just sprints right by Castile, and the ball thrown inside. No way Galt could get to it.
And that's the type of timing between quarterback and receiver that takes a lot longer than just 3 weeks to develop.
From the 49, 2nd down, 10. 1:14 to play. Over the middle, Smith. This time he's covered. He's tackled by Ryan. Help from Braxton. Ball at the 43. 3rd and 3 upcoming with a minute now to go.
And they're going back to huddle again. I don't believe this.
This has got to be just the unfamiliarity of Schrader with this offense, because in any game you would see the quarterback would have had called 2 plays.
3rd down, 3. At the 43. We're down to 42 seconds.
And then a long snap count on top of it.
Again. Schrader almost sacked. Underthrows Christensen, getting rid of it. 4th down and 3. Clock stop, 35 seconds now. So here's your ball game on this play.
Tough situation when your quarterback is not familiar enough with the offense that he can't make multiple calls in the huddle, because they have used up 35, 40 seconds by not being able to come back up to the line of scrimmage with the play ready to go.
Twice on 2 occasions. 4th down. A long 3. They have to get to about the 39 and a half. 35 seconds. Shotgun. And they just do get the play off. And Allen makes the catch, and he's down to the 38. He does have the 1st down, but the clock keeps on rolling. Now they'll have to run another play. Right now.
Oh, and they wasted all that time and then took a timeout.
Ooh, 24 seconds.
I don't understand it. They were in position to go ahead and throw the ball into the ground in maybe another 2 seconds. Instead, they wasted 7 or 8 and then took a timeout anyway.
Dan, they needed that play to give them anything they could run to the inside to stop the clock and set up the field goal.
I mean, they needed the timeout. They needed the timeout.
They needed that timeout, and they have blown away a great opportunity to use the field with their next offensive play.
Ball is at the 38, so you're looking at a 55-yard field goal, and that's way out of Barr's range. It's his career long, but that came in 1979. The one advantage he does have here is, again, the thin air of Denver, which adds 3-4 yards to your range. But it's not been a good season for him thus far. 9 years ago, his career high. And,
well,
they won't even attempt a 55-yarder.
It's not quite as desperate as we make it sound for the Raiders. They do have 24 seconds. Plenty of time. It's first down, so they have no problem with the downs. Plenty of time to either run the ball, complete a pass across the middle, get your offensive team up to the huddle, and then just let the quarterback either A, throw a fly pattern down towards the end zone, or B, just step back 1 foot and throw the ball right into the ground and stop the clock.
Well, they're going to be in a position, though, if they don't get out of bounds, if they move it into field goal range, they're getting that unit on in a big hurry.
No, Al, they'll just take the snap and stop the clock. Well, I mean, that's quicker than bringing in your field goal team.
You think they will, but we'll see. The way this 2-minute drill has gone, you don't know.
Oh, that'd be dangerous to run in their field goal team when you could just run your offensive team up to the ball, take a snap, and throw it into the ground. You got the downs in your favor with it being first down.
2 key guys to watch. Marcus Allen, you can give him something safe, high percentage, and he can turn it into a big one. The other one is a man that's been very quiet tonight, Todd Christensen.
Meanwhile, they put 3 seconds back on the clock. Did the referee? We have 27 seconds. First down, 38-yard line. Quarterback draw. He's bumped down at the 34. They can't stop the clock except with Schrader to line it up, throw it into the ground now. You're still looking at a 51-yard field goal from the 39-yard line. Now he throws. Gold has to get out of bounds, and he does at the 27.
Oh, but key yardage.
Out a 45-yard field goal. That's a big play.
Oh, big play to Gauld. Big play to Willie Gauld instead of just throwing it out of bounds. That may be the difference. Because I think we're going to be looking now at around a 44-yard field goal, depending on where they spot the ball. But I think we're going to look at about a 44-yarder versus what have been at least a 50 or more before that completion to Willie Gauld. They're going to spot it up at the 35. Well, just short of the 35, so split the difference. This will be a 45-yarder, I guess, in the books.
Jeff Gossett holding, and Denver takes the timeout to make him think about it. And
what a long thing this will be. Chris Barr not having a good year, not known as a long field goal kicker, and the ball game is his at the moment.
It's a tie.
In fact, they've been looking at kickers. They looked at John Lee during the preseason. They run a few guys into camp as well to look at them. So he has been a man on the spot. And now he's really on the spot here. 44, 45-yard attempt coming. Clock shows 8 seconds. And what looked like a route turns out to be a beauty. .44 yards. Long enough? Good. Chris Barr comes through to tie the game. A 44-yard field goal, 4 seconds on the clock. And 76,000 fall stone silent.
A perfect snap, a perfect hold. And Barr with a good follow-through. Never a doubt about this one. He just splits the uprights.
That could have been 55.
Plenty of distance, and that's where the thin air comes into play. And you think this guy likes his team's comeback? OT, folks, unless something drastic happens in the remaining 4 seconds. Chris Barr.
He's got to love it. It's been such a tough year for him. And it was absolutely splitting the uprights.
At 35, and we watched his brother Matt with Cleveland last week. And again, a guy on the bubble in a way, fighting for a job. And here's Schrader's reaction.
He engineered this comeback. He'll live to fight another day. In a couple of minutes in overtime.
And again, in overtime, there's a coin toss to determine who receives. So we'll go through that ceremony in a moment. Bell going to down it there, and so that means that the Broncos have.
Why do you down the football?
The last play of the game. Let's try for it anyway.
I guess
he's figuring that Elway can throw a Hail Mary and maybe get a pass interference call and then one more.
I guess. I don't know. I sometimes I think you have a bigger chance of a big play on something like a kickoff return.
Hey, the last time he returned one, he fumbled.
I was going to say, maybe you factor in the risk, and who knows.
We'll talk about thin air. Wait till you see how far this football goes. John Elway, I'm sure, will put a little distance on this ball.
Meanwhile, crazily enough, lost within the structure of the game, and what a game it's been is Dorsett, who's still a yard shy of tying Brown and 2 yards from eclipsing him.
This might have been the only thing that will allow him to get those 2 yards tonight, because the Broncos would have run the clock out with just Elway dropping to his knees, I'm quite sure.
They line up in a pretty tight formation with only one man wide from the 20-yard line, and they're going to take their chances in winning the toss.
Well, then for sure you should have run it out of the end zone.
Yep. Well, had Bell known that, he would have run it out of the end zone. We're going to stay for the coin toss. There are a lot of people who are proponents of the fact that each team should at least get the ball once in overtime. Some in the league have considered it, but it's not been adopted. And of course, the situation is such that if you win the toss and score, game is over, period. Other team never sees it.
Again,
these two teams have played so many overtimes the last few years.
We have to pinch ourselves to think that we're going into overtime tied at 27 when this was a 24-0 Bronco lead at halftime.
The last 2 victories by the Raiders over the Broncos in the last 8 games that they've played were both overtime victories. I mean, by the Raiders over the Broncos, they were both won in overtime.
Same coin, heads, tails, call it in the air. You calling? Heads. It is a tail. Denver, you won the toss.
Denver wins the toss.
Okay.
Broncos get it. So we go to overtime. Who'd have believed it? Back to Denver after this word from your local station. Now, this is... Would you say a few people in the Eastern time zone who called it a night at halftime might be a little surprised tomorrow morning?
Well, what it boils down to now is, and we mentioned this in the 4th quarter, that the team that makes the first mistake is going to lose. Nobody made a mistake. Each team, when they had the ball, put together a good drive and came up with some points. But that certainly holds true here in overtime. You cannot make a mistake here because you're not going to get a second chance.
These teams played an overtime game in 1985, and the Raiders won it on a Barr field goal, 17-14. Now Barr kicks off, and again a boomer. He's had a big night. Downed by Bell in the end zone. Here come the Bronx now, out to the 20. There it is, Denver snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. 1978, year after they went to the Super Bowl, led the Jets 28-7. Jets won it by 3.
Actually, in 1985, the Raiders won 2 games from Denver in overtime.
Meanwhile, San Diego led the Raiders 24-0 in 82, and back they came to the Raiders to win it 28-24. A little recent history. Elway at the 20. Falls on it at the 19-yard line. Can you believe what's going on?
John started to back out. Now you talk about a veteran battery. Bill Bryan at center and John Elway the quarterback, and how they almost misfired in overtime. Oh, I'd like to put the old blood pressure cuff on Dan Reeves right now.
He had a physical today, too.
Let's go, Johnny.
The ball appeared to be right into the hands of John Elway, and he just bounced out.
Yeah, for the moment, it was 200 over 180. 2nd and 11. Elway scrambles out of trouble. And run it back out to the 16-yard line. Stopped there by Stacy Turan. 3rd down and 13. The deal in overtime now is a 15-minute period. Of course, it's sudden death. Somebody scores, game over. But if you play 15 without anybody scoring, that's the way it winds up. Each team has 1 timeout to use in OT. 1.
And a couple of misfires by Denver. A fumbled snap, a sack. They need some magic here.
Here's also where you don't want to try to force it. 3rd and 13.
Elway stepping up, staying in the pocket, nearly has it picked off. Mike Haynes had it right there and can't believe it.
Well, you don't want to, but Elway tried to force it in there, and that was a miracle that wasn't picked off.
Well, that's the second time, if you remember. Wasn't long ago, towards the end of the 4th quarter, that hit Lyndon King in the arms with a football. And now it's Mike Haynes.
And Mike Haynes with the good hands.
That ball just a little bit back behind him. Rick Massey was the intended receiver, number 85, but not even close was John Elway.
Now Haran, who's had a fabulous night, hits this one. For him, this is an average kick. Brown fields at the 38, avoids a tackle, avoids another, and a 3rd, cuts it back inside, and is run out of bounds at the 49-yard line. So Brown, who had slipped down twice, turns this one into an 11-yard run back after a 46-yard kick.
Not being partisan, playing favorites, you're happy to see the rookie do that. He's fallen down the 2 times we've talked about. This time he took a risk in even handling that ball and turned it in to a big play for the Raiders, gets them up to midfield.
And one of the Denver Broncos, I believe it's Sam Brady, just went flying right by Brown. Should have made that play, negating that return. But boy, old Mother Mo is clearly on the side of the Raiders here.
And has been since halftime from the 48-yard line. Marcus Allen gets into Bronco territory to the 44-yard line. And again, reiterating what we said earlier, Raiders go away with a victory. This is one to really savor for a team that has fallen upon lean and hard times in the last year and a half. Second down, 3. Tied in overtime. 2 minutes, 5 seconds into overtime. Marcus Allen again. Last time we saw Allen, it was a Thursday night game in '86 in overtime at San Diego. A brilliant run to win the game at Jack Murphy Stadium, Frank.
Well, we recall the night that Howie Long couldn't play. He represented so much of their defense. Not a bad man to give it to when you want to be very conservative with the play you call and doing something conservative and getting something big out of it.
3rd down, 3. From the 45-yard line. 3-man rush, lots of time, incomplete, intended for Christensen. Christensen looking for a flag, doesn't get it. Guidry had him covered. The rookie, who was called earlier for a penalty.
Had a call, pass interference in the 4th quarter, and this time he made an absolutely perfect play, forcing Schrader to throw the ball low.
It almost looked like defensive holding coming off the line of scrimmage.
Jeff Gossett now to kick. Latil stands back at the 10-yard line. At the 19-yard line, touched there by the Raider Stephon Adams. And Denver will take over at that point after a 31-yard boot. Coming up Saturday, again, Troy Aikman leads the Bruins against the Washington Huskies in Seattle. Always a tough place to win. Or Iowa takes on Michigan State. You'll see it live at 3:30 Eastern. Week from tonight, Cowboys 2-2 in that tight battle in the NFC East. Saints 3-1. Game back of the Rams in the NFC West, and back to a 9 o'clock Eastern time next week. Monday Night Football back to 9 o'clock Eastern, 6 on the coast next week. Broncos from the 19. 11:56 remaining in OT. Here's Dorsett. He needs 2. He's ahead of Brown, and there it is. And they'll stop the game and give him the football. Tony Dorsett has eclipsed Jim Brown's mark. Brown, the only man to trail Walter Payton among all-time rushers, and TD has just eclipsed the great Cleveland fullback. And somehow, some way, they were supposed to have stopped the game. The officials were told beforehand if he does it to stop it, but maybe overtime's going to take precedence in this particular scenario.
And I think that's a good call.
Yep, I do too.
As much as Tony deserves the honor and the recognition, this is overtime in a critical game.
2nd down 4 from the 20-yard line. And Dorsett out to the 22-yard line, stopped by Rod Martin. You're exactly right. Had it happened in ordinary circumstances, it's time to stop the game and let the crowd do its thing.
There's no question it would be disruptive. I don't think Tony would have wanted that at this point.
Well, he would have hated it. I mean, he knows this Bronco offensive team has got to move the football to get some points. Last thing in the world he wants to do is be distracted. A good, solid night for Tony Dorsett.
2nd consecutive 100-yard game.
3rd and 2 from the 22. Elway fires it, and a nice catch by Johnson out of the 27-yard line. Vance Johnson. Well, he's made some big catches tonight.
It's hard to tell you what a great catch that was. It only gained a few yards, but Elway almost put that ball through him. He tried to squeeze it in. He did that, but to hang on to it, that was a super effort by Vance Johnson with awfully soft hands to handle that.
These Bronco wide receivers should wear body armor to field the ball sometimes that John Elway sends flying their way. No quarterback in the game throws with that velocity. Nobody.
1st down, 27-yard line. Dorsett again. A hard yard or 2. Stacy Turan comes up to make the tackle.
See, that's another look at what I talked about earlier with Dorsett. That temptation to jump to the outside. He jumps outside there, loses a couple of yards. If things don't work out, hey, be satisfied, pick up your 2 yards, cut it back to the inside and go down with the ball.
And it's a lot better to be going 2nd and 8 than it is 2nd and 12.
Shotgun at the 29-yard line.
6 defensive backs.
Off the fingertips of Mobley and incomplete, or Clarence K rather. 3rd down and 8.
And John's struggling. The ball is floating on Elway tonight. It's like every 3rd pass is just getting away from him, and that's a good example right there. Mobley makes his break, and that pass just a little high and outside. Clarence K, let's look at it from behind.
And Clarence K coming back from a game that he missed with a very sore neck, very catchable ball.
And that'll make his neck sore once again. Jerry Robinson with a hit.
3rd and 8 from the 29-yard line. Elway tracked from behind and throws incomplete at the 45, swatted away by the hand of Dennis Price.
Greg Townsend chased John from behind and actually hit Elway on the back of the legs as he was throwing the ball. So the pressure by the Raiders, even though it was late, at least got there ultimately. And Schrader and the Raiders now get their 2nd chance at it.
We're 5:23 into overtime. Again, if neither team scores in 15 minutes, it's not like postseason. It's over. And in fact, last year, Denver played the only tie game in the league, overtime against Green Bay. Haran's kick, good one. Brown at the 24. Flag. Big run back, but a marker down.
There's a flag down, folks. This one's coming back.
Yep, Brown's going to go all the way, but only for the moment.
Oh, but it's pretty to watch. We're going to be watching that for a lot of years.
And I wonder what he feels like.
Flag thrown at the 36-yard line. And back it comes. Stephon Adams, number 44, was there trying to throw a block on Ken Bell. Let's see if that's the call. Illegal block in the back, perhaps.
Ron Fellows was real close there, too, with a block in the back.
On Guidry. We'll see.
Ron Fellows was the first one that I saw. Ron Fellows, number 21, was flirting with disaster.
In any event, it's coming back. They may be reviewing the spot of the foul right now in the replay booth.
Because the penalty is assessed from the spot of the foul. That's why it's critical.
Low block on the return, number 44, penalized from the spot of the foul.
Yep, Stephon Adams is the guy on Bell, lower part of the screen as we look at it.
Oh, he does block below the waist. There's the block I saw from behind.
And a full-blown clip also.
Yeah. But a good call that time by the officials, Stephon Adams. You cannot block below the waist on a punt return, kickoff return, a change of possession, like an interception or something like that. You've got to stay up. It's the league's effort to try to alleviate the number of knee injuries you see on low blocks.
So at the 20-yard line now, 1st and 10. Christensen goes in motion and then sets up tight on the left side, and Lofton comes back the other way. Fake to Allen. Schrader airing it for goal. And knocked down at the 21-yard line. Jeremiah Castile, and that ball had to go more than 60 yards in the air.
But everybody in the stadium knew it, including the Bronco defensive backs. I mean, Schrader is really telegraphing, A, where he's going with the ball, and B, he's letting everyone know that he doesn't really care whether the guy's covered or not.
Jeremiah knew it when Galt came off the line of scrimmage. They've tried it about a half a dozen times tonight, and Jeremiah is earning a trip to Honolulu.
Beautifully played by Castile. Beautifully played. That's as good as a corner can do it.
Well, pretty much Schrader's history. He's been a big play bomber through his career from the 20-yard line. Allen for about 7. Schrader coming into the game tonight, he'd averaged 14.4 yards a completion, and that's extremely high among active players who played for some time. Only Steve Grogan would have a higher career average.
You guys remember where Jeremiah Castile fits into Bronco history, don't you?
The stripping of the ball last year.
Exactly right.
Against Cleveland.
He's the one that stripped the ball from Ernest Weiner.
Absolutely.
Saved the game for the Broncos, and doing a pretty good job of saving it here tonight as well. A cast-off, a guy that was waived by Tampa Bay.
Dennison comes off. He was shaken up. Castile sets up to go one-on-one with Galt. 3rd and 3 from the 27. Schrader over the middle, batted away, knocked down by big number 90, Freddie Gilbert. And we haven't called his name tonight, and when we finally do, it's at a critical juncture.
We've got some defensive linemen for the Broncos playing pass coverage tonight. Freddie Gilbert doesn't get off the line of scrimmage in his attempt to rush the passer. Does the smart thing, falls back and gets his arms up, knocks down a pass.
8:21 left in overtime. Gossage kick, Natil. Ricky at the 25-yard line. Back to the 31 he comes. Stopped by Reggie McKenzie. So the Broncos get it for the 3rd time after a 48-yard kick, 6-yard run back. Each team's had it twice. Again, if you joined us late, the Broncos were on their way to destroying the Raiders. 24-0 Denver at halftime. Raiders with a tremendous comeback, a furious comeback. And we're tied at 27 in overtime. Denver's ball. Again in Denver, Al Michaels, Frank Gifford, and Dan Deerdorf in overtime. 8:11 remaining in OT. Denver has the football. They'll spot it at the 32-yard line. It'll be 1st and 10. Again, the Broncos are huddled along the sideline. to give the Raiders less time defensively to set up for what Denver will come up with on first down formation-wise.
This might be more effective against another team that is not coached by Mike Shanahan. He has a pretty good idea, having been the offensive coordinator for so long with him, exactly what they're going to come out with. Danny Reeves has not had a whole lot of opportunity to change things, and he's going to come out with what goes for him the best. We asked him today if the fact that Shanahan was the offensive coordinator, knew the personnel so well, would have changed things for him. He said, no, it won't. And you really have to go with what works for you the best, and I'm quite sure that Danny will go with that, and I'm quite sure that Mike Shanahan has a pretty good idea what they're going to come out with.
On 1st and 10, they send Johnson to the right, Natil to the left. And they toss it to Tony Dorsett, who puts his head down and is taken down at the 40-yard line by Jerry Robinson and Matt Millen. That's a gain of 7 at the 39-yard line, 2nd and 3, and Robinson is slow in getting up.
And I think Denver would be smart to do just that. Stay with the running game. Keep hammering it at him. Run the ball on first down. Get some positive yardage. Set up Elway's passing game. And Jerry Robinson, feeling the effects of that collision with Dorsett that you could hear clearly all the way up here in the press box.
And the other thing Denver has going for it, of course, is a supreme field goal kicker in Carlos, who hasn't missed one this season. 7:47 left in overtime.
And the third reason, if you want to pursue it a step farther, is that the Denver passing game here in the second half has been extremely erratic.
John Elway has not been the perfect John Elway, far from it tonight. It's been that kind of season for John. He's off to a slow start, but Denver also knows what slow starts are all about. They had a slow start in the season of '86, got to the Super Bowl. They started slowly a year ago, and they're certainly not hitting on all gears thus far this season.
Reggie McKenzie comes in to spell Robinson at right inside linebacker, and now he sets up at left inside backer on 2nd down and 3 from the 39-yard line. Sewell in motion, end around to Dorsett. Tony has a first down. 46-yard line, loose ball at the 49-yard line, but the play was dead. Play was dead.
They're ruling him down.
Or so they ruled, at least initially.
But they say the ground cannot cause a fumble.
Well, it can't. That's a fact. The question is, was he down? Did he have the ball when he went down? From behind. Dorsett cutting up inside. Yes, he had the football when he hit the ground. Good call by the officials.
First down at the 47-yard line. Winder is back in with Dorsett. Tony back of Winder. Slithers to the outside, and it's Robinson back in the game who makes the tackle at the 50-yard line.
You know, that's only 4 yards, but what a great effort by a man who's been around as long as Tony has. He dipped inside to make it look like he was going to cut it up, as he's been doing all night. Got to the outside and then spun for another yard and a half. The ordinary back would have been dead at the line of scrimmage, or maybe even have lost a yard.
But again, it's that rather at the last minute there, Frank, than just take it out of bounds and avoid the hit. Always willing to turn it back to the inside, pick up an extra yard or two, and take the blow by the defender. I've always admired that in Tony Dorsett.
2nd down, 6 from the 49. Nashing in motion. Dorsett again. Going to the outside, and Martin makes a great play. Rod Martin at the 46-yard line. That's a 4-yard loss. And it's going to make it 3rd down and 11. And it is Stacy Turan who is hurt. The safety holding his ankle. I'll tell you, two teams loving every moment of this right now are the Bengals and the Chargers, because the Raiders play the Bengals Sunday. Denver plays the Chargers, not only coming off a Monday night game, but coming off a Monday night overtime game.
When can the Raiders ill afford to lose another defensive back? And Stacy Turan in obvious trouble. Already out on the injured reserve. Lionel Washington, Van McElroy is on injured reserve.
And Terrence McDaniel.
He's got a broken lower leg, does he not?
Yep.
The tibia?
Yep. Good-looking rookie. They love him, and you saw Charlie Sumner.
He was their #1 draft choice, McDaniel, wasn't he?
One of 3, because they had Brown and they had McDaniel. And now Turan gets helped off.
Scott Davis was their other #1.
Right. 3 #1s they wound up with.
Looked just like he may have slipped. Not appear to be any major twisting or contact.
Well, you can see, yeah, he lost his footing, and then his cleats caught. Oh, geez, that really looked tough from that angle. The side of his foot skated out from underneath him, and then Strand tried to right himself. It looks like his cleats dug in, and he rode right over the top.
That sends Fellows into the game at a corner. And also Zeph Lee comes in at safety. 3rd down, 11 from the 46-yard line. Elway working from the shotgun. Piquel can't make the sack.
Can you believe that?
Piquel comes after him again. Still can't make the sack. Finally, he throws an interception at the 50-yard line into the hands of Zeph Lee, who had just come into the game, and he takes it to the 31. So Turan gets hurt. Lee, a former running back at SC, comes in to spell him and makes an interception off a pass that Elway can't believe, and I can't believe he threw.
John scrambling all over the field, put on some exhibition, and then pulled up almost as if he got a little discombobulated, fired it right into the hands of Zeph Lee. Nobody could have been more surprised than Lee. Let's take a look at the athleticism of John Elway, but it had disastrous results at the end.
Look at that little spin to get away from Piquel. Again, everything is perfect right up until the moment he makes a decision to throw the football. And that, again, a serious error by John Elway instead of just dumping it out of bounds and punting the football away.
An irony of ironies, a year ago during the strike, Lee played with Denver against the Raiders. Here's Allen to the 27-yard line. So now they are within field goal range for Barr. Less than 5 minutes, 4:58, and the clock ticking down. Left in overtime. Elway has thrown 4 interceptions tonight.
I go back to what I said earlier, and of course this game is not lost yet. The Raiders still have to score, whether it be a field goal or a touchdown. But as I said earlier, the team that makes the first mistake, more often than not in an overtime situation, ends up losing the game.
That's the 8th interception for Elway on the season.
2nd down and 5. Smith. And now very much in field goal range. If the Raiders win this game, it would be the 3rd greatest comeback in NFL history. It would tie for the 3rd greatest to come from a 24-point deficit, which they were down by at the half. At the 20-yard line, Berline sending in the call. Elway still can't believe what he did. 1st and 10 at the 20.
I guess sometimes you can be so good at what you do, and he is, that you can believe that you can do anything. And that's a mistake.
Here's Smith. What a weird game, though. I mean, Turan gets hurt. Lee comes in, makes the intercept, comes back to play against the team he faced it during the strike last year. The ex-running back, there's Barr.
Of course, it's no sure thing that Barr would hit that field goal either. I think that Mike Shanahan would much prefer his offensive team just keep slamming it away and go ahead and score a touchdown.
2nd and 8. They come up in the eye. Allen is the tailback. Give it to Marcus. To the 16. So they're just buttoning it up. They're going to bring Barr in now, and a skirmish breaks out. And even though it's 3rd down, instead of taking a chance and fumbling or losing the ball, they're going to send Barr in to win the game.
What do you think of that call, Frank? I know that a lot of old-time coaches would roll over and say, you keep moving the football by conventional means. You don't turn it over to a kicker.
It would be 3rd down and 7. So here's Barr.
Barr better make this, or Mike Shanahan going to suffer his first real interrogation as a head coach.
35 yards out. Gossett puts it down. Barr's kick is good. And the Raiders, who've won so many dramatic, unbelievable games through the years, have done it again. We revisit the 70s with this one. You go back to the Blandas and the Stablers and the way the Raiders used to pull out games. This one will be right there with them.
Very gracious, Danny Reeves going over to congratulate his former offensive corner coordinator, Mike Shanahan. But this was an almost unbelievable turnaround. The touchdown at the very beginning, it was a terrible first half by the Raiders. They turned it around with a little bit of help from the Broncos. And you've got to wonder what effect this game will have on the Raiders down the line. They got the quarterback that they have been wanting. We'll see them November the 28th against Seattle. And it'll be interesting to look back and see what's happened.
And on November 28th, they'll also have some guy named Jackson.
Yeah, a left fielder from Kansas City will be joining them by then, too.
And he loves Seattle.
You really have to feel for this guy. He is everything to this franchise. Without him, the Denver Broncos maybe not even a playoff team. And it's kind of tough to have a lot of the responsibility for this loss fall on his shoulders.
Just win, baby, is that man's credo. Any way you can.
I think he's stunned. I don't think he can believe it.
Pretty amazing. And he's seen some amazing, dramatic come-from-behind wins in his time. But this one is right at the top. Schrader looking on as Barr boots it through. Malibu, Kelly Hayes, and George Hill, Steve Hurt, our guys with the numbers and the names and numbers, and Kenny Wolf, Craig Janoff, heading our crew here in Denver as we get set to bid you adieu from Mile High Stadium, where in overtime the Raiders defeat Denver by a score.
Thank you, Chris. We're at San Diego.